Hello everybody, welcome to the I Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabazz Dar and as ever I am the IT Geek. Welcome back to this AZ700 series. This is for exam prep. The AZ700 series is the topic is designing and implementing Microsoft Azure Network Solutions. We're now episode 6. I'm trying not to lose count. We are episode 6 and we've covered site-to-site VPNs and we're at the end of our point-to-site VPN topic. So this is part 3. We've obviously done 2 more parts, which you can get those videos on the channel as well. Before we get into the topic, it'd be remiss of me not to say hello to my good friend and co-host, Saj. Hi, Saj.
Hi, Shabazz. You well?
Alhamdulillah, all good, my good friend. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Thank you.
Good. So Saj has given us some really interesting demos in module 1 so far. The last one being the sort of end-to-end open VPN one, which was really interesting. Today's topic is it's going to be a quick and short one. It's around troubleshooting and stuff like that. So we'll get into the topic, but it's not going to be as long as the episode. And I think that again, the demo will be more kind of Saj showing us in the portal where we can troubleshoot issues. But without further ado, let's get into the topic. Again, I'm not going to introduce me and Saj. We're going to do it at the beginning of each module. So we've already introduced ourselves in module 1, so we'll skip that part. So we're still on that. Module 1, as I said, is like the hybrid networking sort of topic. And we are still in module 1, and this is the last part of the designing and implementing and managing point-to-site VPN connections topic. After this topic, we have one more topic to go through before we complete module, which will be the express route. So that's going to be quite an interesting long topic as well. Today, though, we're going to cover implementing a VPN configuration file, followed by diagnosing and resolving client-side and authentication issues, which will follow Saj doing the diagnosing authentication issues and kind of showing us in the portal what sort of alerts we can get. So let's look at implementing a client VPN connection configuration file first. So you generate the VPN client profile configuration files either through PowerShell or via the Azure portal. Either method returns the same sort of .zip file, which is obviously an archive file. But that actual archive file or zip file contains an Azure VPN folder, which it contains is the Azure VPN config.xml file that is used to configure the Azure VPN client. And it also contains a folder called generic. The generic folder contains a public server certificate and the VPN settings.xml file. And that VPN settings XML file contains information needed to configure the generic client. Okay, so when you add a connection, and you use the information you collect in the previous step for the profile details page, the fields correspond to sort of the following information. So we have the audience, and this identifies the recipient resource that the token is intended for. The other information is the issuer, so this identifies that security token service, or STS for short, that emitted the token and the Azure AD tenant as well. And obviously it moves us on to the other information, which is the actual tenant. So this contains the immutable unique identifier of the directory tenant that issued the token. And you also have the fully qualified domain name of the FQDN. So this is the FQDN on that Azure VPN gateway. And finally, probably the most important is that server secret. This is that VPN gateway pre-shared key. So let's move on to looking at diagnosing and resolving client-side authentication issues. So they're supposed to be bugs. So we're resolving bugs. So problems occur if the client. So there's different type of sort of issues you might need to diagnose with client side. So a couple of them I want to just give examples of. So one of them is missing certificates. So problems can occur if the client certificate is missing from the certificate's current user personal certificates area of the certificate store. I think Sad showed us that earlier in the last demo that he did when he was looking at Open VPN clients. Also, if Windows does not support the IKE fragmentation, so the problems can occur if that's the case. And also, you can have other problems might include, you can get problems if the following conditions are true. So if the UDR, which is a user defined route, with that default route on the gateway is set incorrectly, that can cause a lot of problems. If that root certificate public key is not uploaded correctly to the Azure VPN gateway, that can cause a lot of problems. And also, if that key is corrupt or it gets, if it expires, expired certificates. We've all been there. You're lying if you've never been there before. We've all had expired certificates and seen the problems they can occur. Another cause of issues on point to site VPNs is like incorrect gateway type. So if you don't select the correct gateway type, that can cause a lot of problems as well. So Saj is obviously going to go into more details with these and so how we can get where we can get alerts and etc. So without further ado, I will hand over to you, Saj.
Thank you, Shabazz. So we'll just take a quick look at some of the stuff Shabazz mentioned. So we were talking about certificates previously. We mentioned you have two certificates, a root certificate and a child certificate. Now, you can generate multiple child certificates, but you need a copy of that child certificate generated from the root certificate in your user context of the certificate store. So if you look at Cert Manager and we look at user context for the under personal, you will have child certificate. So you will need that certificate to be able to connect. So if you installed your VPN connection on a machine that doesn't have the child certificate in the current user context or that particular user, then your VPN client will fail to connect. Other issues, for example, if you want some diagnostics about successful or failed connections, if you navigate to your virtual network gateway and under point to site configuration, you have, under monitoring policies, you have logs. And we spoke previously about setting up logs and how you can get some logs, but there is some delay in getting the data, unfortunately. But you have failed point-to-site VPN connection alerts. You configure any alerts, diagnostics for successful point-to-site VPN connections and for failed point-to-site VPN connections. Fortunately, we can't show you anything at this moment in time, but essentially, if you want to have a look at what this does, this is using KQL to generate a query to run against the data once the data has been generated. So just looking for failed connections in the last 12 hours. You can modify this if you know KQL to run to generate the data that you want. You will configure alerts here. The other thing it shows you is if you've got any active connections. If you look, select point to site sessions, it's a bit slow to load up, apologies. It'll show you any active sessions that you have at this moment in time. So I think my session is still active from the last demo. So if you can see here, the allocated IP address to me is 10.10.09. So there's some of the kind of things that you want to have a look at. Make sure you've got the certificate, make sure the child certificate is generated from the root certificate that you uploaded to your to Azure. So when you configure point to site VPN configuration, you copy a root certificate up here. So make sure the child certificates are part of the root certificate, otherwise it won't work. Looking logs with some alerts. Other things, you might get certain errors. And there's a really good URL, which again, we will put in the description. So if you look at this URL, that Microsoft provides for you. So it talks about troubleshooting Azure point-to-site VPN connection, and it gives you the symptom, the cause. So when you try to connect to Azure Virtual Network by using VPN client, you receive the following error 798. The cause is certificates, and the solution is do X. And it's got lots of errors that you might come across, issues that you come across, the cause that's causing it. key fragmentation is something that Shabazz mentioned, and the solution for that, I present you with various, if you've got an OS version, you might need to install some updates, some patches. Apologies. You might need to install some updates, some patches to get that to work. So again, we will share this link with you, and if you've got any issues, please refer back to this link. Check your certificate, check the logs. Thank you, Shabazz. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Saj. Quite a quick episode with this topic. There's not really much to configure. Just talking about some of the problems that you can get and how to diagnose them was obviously quite important. So both myself and Saj touched on that. And obviously the configuration file piece as well. Just understanding what that is and how you can generate it. So yeah, and that concludes the point to site VPN connection topic. We are going to be getting into the managing implementing express route, and that's a long topic. It's going to be 4 episodes. As we mentioned, there is an aspect of that. There's going to be one episode where, in this instance, we're not able to do demo, and even the other demos are going to be very high level, just because we don't have the means to do an express route. You know, we can show you in Azure where to configure them, you know, so and how the steps that you might need to complete. You know, so for example, you know, we'll look at one of the demos will be, you know, the SKUs that you can select. We'll also go through connecting a virtual network to an express route. We can show you the steps. We can't actually complete the end to end, and also again looking at diagnosing and resolving connection issues as well with an express route. So these are things we can try and show you in as much detail as possible. But as I'm sure you can appreciate, we don't have an express route, so we won't be able to show you, but fully. Um, Thank you very much, Saj. You know, I said we've got all the key links will be in the description for this episode, including our socials, including the GitHub for the lab, so you can follow them along with Saj, and also the link that Saj mentioned as well with all the sort of troubleshooting steps. Don't forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. You know, by all means, give us your feedback. Me and Saj are always open to feedback, and you know, we want to make sure people are happy and following the. You know, we want to make sure people are able to follow the content. So if there's anything we can do to make it easier, please do let us know. So yeah, we will see you in the next episode, as I said, which is going to be. So we're every Monday, Wednesday. I think this is going to be a Wednesday, this one. So the next drop will be on Friday. So we'll see you on Friday. So until next time, thank you and goodbye.
Hi everyone.